We're going back to Lucas Ledette's movie that he recommended this week, the Patreon movie, Pandorum, guys. Pandorum. Now, this movie, it follows two astronauts who wake up from a spaceship with no memory of who they are or why they're there. As they explore the ship, they discover that it's filled with mutant creatures, and mysterious events occur, like fucking mutanoids just like mauling people and devouring them. It's crazy, and there are people on the ship who are just like running away from them, speaking a weird new language. What's going on there, guys? And, you know, as they explore, they discover more fucking mutants, more creatures, more mysterious events. The film explores the themes of isolation, memory loss, as many other things as they travel throughout the ship. And eventually, guys, they realize that they're not actually in space. They're in the ocean all along.
Whoa.
That's fucking nuts, isn't it?
F-tier movie, the protagonist should have died like 10 minutes in when he snapped his neck falling down that bed. Bullshit movie, dog shit.
I thought he did die. I thought it was just going to be a movie like where you could be reanimated in a pod because you had like biological copies or something.
I thought he was just going to fucking die and the other guy was going to have to figure it out himself and he was going to become the main character.
Also, I legit thought he broke his neck there.
Yeah, also, is it a new language? I just figured it was those characters' original language. Because obviously they have people from different ethnicities on that ship.
It's impossible to say.
I will say, I did have a favorite character, and he died in a very dumb and stupid way, and I hate it.
I know exactly who you're talking about, Dylan.
I hate it. That woman changed his mind, and because she changed his mind, he died. I hate it.
I don't even remember.
Now, Dylan, real quick, can you just say who the character was?
It was that Asian guy. The really cool Asian guy.
That would be your favorite character.
Listen, man, he survived not really knowing anything. He kind of just survived off of combat skills. He beat one of those things on his own at the very end, which is something not any of them were able to do. The thing even challenged him to an honorable fight, and he won. And then he sees the kid, and he's like, "Oh man!" You see the gears turn in his head. He's like, "Oh, the woman told me not to kill it. It's just a child." And in that scene, you're gonna really think it's just a child when you know they're gonna grow up to be these cannibalistic assholes that eat people, have super strength and super speed. You're not gonna kill them while they're young and like not give them the chance to grow up. Like, come on.
Dylan,
so several things there. Yeah, murder all the children. Several things there. So, like, first of all with this character, the moment he showed up, I was just like, okay, yeah, this guy's going to die immediately, or just like in some really stupid way, because he gets zero development throughout the entire film. So obviously he's just going to fucking die at some point. And yeah, sure enough, he ends up fighting some mutant, and for some reason they have a concept of honor. God knows why. They kind of just seem like they trap people and immediately murder them.
I think it's because they're supposed to be pretty tribal with how they do stuff, like with the fucking head painting and all that shit. It's supposed to be like a tribal society.
Mm-hmm.
I still think it's really fucking dumb. They definitely don't strike me like that at all. They kind of just seem like, you know, they kind of just keep to their own and murder anyone they come across, and that's about it, and just devour them.
And they clearly also devour their own people, because if you remember, they killed that one when they were in, like, the flight crew, like, family member place or whatever. They killed it, and they're like, oh, wait. I think what I ended up saying at that part of the movie was, like, waste not, want not, and they just started immediately eating that one. So I was like, alright, that they're shedding the tone very much here. One thing that I really enjoyed about this movie is they had their own form of, I guess, space paranoia onset by the fact that it comes from cryogenic sleep.
It's the Pandorum, Dylan.
Yeah, and I like how they explored that. Like, we had like a glimpse in the very beginning that made us think that our protagonist had it, and he had to finish the mission before it overcame him. And then it turns out, I mean, I think he still had it, but he like got over it immediately. What I think the greatest twist though at the end was it was that old guy who was like, "Oh, I'm this guy," and then like his like vision of, and I'm saying a vision because I'm forecasting here, was like him when he was younger, and then it was like that one black guy surviving on his own, like telling the story about how things came to be. So we had like this idea, like it was a younger kid, which technically wasn't wrong, but then it all starts being pieced together at the very end. I thought it was very, very nice way to kind of use the space sickness, on the audience kind of thing, and subvert expectations.
Yeah. That's something I think this movie actually did very well, was the twists were actually really interesting. Them being on the planet the whole time was a twist, but underwater, so that was a twist. And then the pilot, the guy he was seeing was actually his hallucination of his younger self, and he actually is this evil guy that kind of set everything into motion. I thought that was actually a pretty cool and unforeseen twist as well.
I thought he wasn't his younger self, though. I thought he fucking killed the flight crew because he went insane, and then he just went into that young guy's pod and, like, assumed he was him, but he wasn't.
No, yeah, it was him.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it was him.
Yeah, and I thought it was crazy, like, they're like, oh, were these aliens? And I thought it was, like, gonna be, like, some kind of alien, like, species they'd have to fight off, or, like, oh, they're gonna have the security system active at the end to fight them off. But there's, like, no, something went wrong in the cryopod, like, some kind of, like, chemical that we use to, like, sustain ourselves in the cryogenic sleep. They got, like, enhanced doses of it or something, or it leaked into their fluids or whatever, and it altered them. It's like, well, why didn't it change everyone? I guess that's good writing when it's just like, you know, it affects some but not all kind of thing.
That's bad writing, but
I think it's good writing because it's a specific.
No, it's only good
genome.
writing if the explanation makes fucking sense.
I guess they didn't delve into it. I see your point.
Yeah, what I was assuming happened there was, like, I immediately knew, like, okay, these are just, like, mutated people. What I'm assuming happened, though, was that, like, these people, like, fucking came out of sleep, like, early or whatever the fuck. And we've been on the ship for, like, significantly longer than we thought. And these people just, like, adapted to the darkness. And they've, like, changed their bodies over time because of all that shit. Kind of disappointed they didn't really go that route, but...
Yeah. They kind of just summed it up to some chemical in their cryopods that... for whatever reason affected them and not us, kind of thing.
I mean, it could have been a combination of the fact. Weren't they in there for like 900 fucking years or something?
Yeah.
No, I thought it was like 700
were.
or something.
Yeah, no, it was like 900 years or something like that.
I thought the counter said like 200 something.
Maybe it was. It wasn't a long time, but it was definitely... their voyage was only supposed to be like 130 something years, and the counter said like 200 and something. So they overshot their arrival date by like a lot. Which would make sense.
Well, they didn't overshoot it. They were on the planet the whole time. They've been sitting underwater for 100 years.
That's what I was going to say. Like, it would make sense. Like, we were supposed to be here this long ago, but we're already here, which means this all could have been avoided. Yada, yada, yada. Bad stuff happened.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, does anyone else have any thoughts about Pandorum?
I don't know.
I thought this was... Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, how do you guys feel about suspenseful horror as compared to confronting? And I mean that in the sense of, you know something's there, but they don't reveal it to you, or like the suspense of knowing something is there is scaring you more than the actual thing itself.
Oh, you mean like how do we feel about like this sort of movie where the threat, like you see it all the time and you know it's around versus like in like an Alien where you barely ever see the threat?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Because it's like, I play video games like this a lot too, where it's like, the threat isn't there. You're more so scared of the fact that the threat can happen at any time. Like, it's just hiding. Like, I played, like, Dead Space and, you know, obviously watched some Alien movies, played a little bit of Alien Resurgence or whatever it's called, and you could just be walking along doing absolutely nothing, and then all of a sudden, out of a vent pops the thing that's trying to kill you, you know, kind of stuff. So, just different perspectives on horror.
I don't think I have a strong preference.
I guess it's time related to that, but I thought the like starting ambiance of this movie when he was kind of just like sneaking around, avoiding the monsters, not really knowing exactly what's going on, like in the darkness. I really liked that section, and I think it went very downhill very quickly.
Yeah, it turns into like a pretty generic like action movie very quickly.
Yeah, when they're like fighting the fucking things, I wasn't a huge fan of that shift in tone.
Yeah,
I definitely thought it was a lot stronger when they're hiding, and you know, it was a lot more. It was more mysterious. You didn't know exactly what was going on. Much bigger fan of that part.
Speaking of not knowing what's going on real quick here, guys, the fucking action scenes in this movie are fucking ridiculous in their editing. You cannot tell what the fuck is happening at any point.
I feel like that just has to do with, like, the character's perspective, though, because in that situation, they don't know what's going on. It's all just a blur. They're running around trying not to die, kind of thing. That's just
I don't think it's an excuse for it whatsoever. I think it's just really shoddy editing.
I actually don't think that's a terrible argument.
Because it's supposed... If we've discussed that, this is, like, kind of off topic. We've discussed the fact that movies are a form of art. I think, like, witnessing or, like, experiencing the movie from the character's point of view, even if it's not, you know, directly put that way, or first person, third person, whatever you want to say, it makes it feel that way when it's, like, chaos. You got, like, and I was actually going to reference the scene anyway, where there's, like, 3 of them fighting that one thing. And they're, like, losing. Like, they're getting their ass kicked by this one guy.
That was the worst culprit of it.
Well, that's what I'm referring to, though. It was chaos. They don't know what's going on. They just know they're getting thrown around by this one dude. And it's just, like, aside from, you know, my prior argument, I'm going to move past that now. like, I think it set another tone. It was like, these 3 people, 2 of which have been, like, fighting these things, and one of them seems pretty competent, at least, like, if not both of them are competent fighting these things. Even 3 of them could not take one of these down, and then all up on the ridge, you see, like, the chief guy with, like, hundreds or dozens or whatever, I don't care, like, dozens of those things pouring over, and, you just know in those situations, it's like fight or flight, and, you just gotta run or else you don't live, kind of thing.
They didn't move shit, that's all I'm saying here. Jackson, go on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I definitely think they need to lean more into your point of view, where they're trying to be like, oh, you're kind of experiencing the camera work with like the way the characters are looking at it. I don't think they leaned into that nearly enough, because it kind of just looked like it was really poorly shot. At least from my perspective, I think if they were, trying to make it appear that way, then it would have been better. Also, just like the characters were pretty fucking stupid throughout a lot of this too. Like Nico said, Asian guy had like no character development at all. He was just kind of there. Main character was really fucking weird with a lot of the characters. The fucking chick, we don't get any motivation really, or like any justification for why she was being like a total asshole at the start. Like, man, I kind of understand being like untrustworthy of people, but we don't get any idea why. And then she suddenly is just like chill with everybody in the very end and like totally up for what's happening. Fucking cook guy has no reason to believe this person at all. I mean, he's caught in a fucking trap.
True.
He has like no evidence to prevent whatsoever to sell his case, so I don't know why the fuck he'd believe
there
him.
There is
and
the ship shaking and the lights flashing.
I mean, that shit was happening the whole fucking time we were watching this movie, so I can only imagine this is a relatively common event for this guy.
Yeah, also that reveal, they're like, oh yeah, the engine's gonna just like die in like an hour, by the way. It was fucking absurd.
Yeah,
I thought he was gonna say like, yeah, like a couple of weeks maybe, like, but like, no, an hour. This is like immediate need, okay? We have to get out of here.
I was gonna say, I could kind of see that making sense, because like maybe they're woken up from their sleep to stop this from happening. Like there was like a failsafe on their cryo sleep to, address this issue potentially.
The time frame is going to be arbitrary no matter what, because of the cryo sleep thing.
Yeah. Is it supposed to be like a manual switch? I figured it would have woken everybody up once they landed automatically. I guess it was like a manual switch, because like how do they
well, I think wasn't it like that the guy who had woken up and lost his fucking mind and turned himself into a god, like he kind of fucked everyth up.
Oh yeah, that's fair. He
killed the flight crew.
He did kill the flight there. You could have just, I guess made everybody just stay perfect stasis.
Yeah, based on what the cook was saying, he like released a bunch of people and he was basically like treating them as sex slaves and shit.
Yeah, it turned them into cannibals and stuff.
Was he the one that was like setting the timers for opening the fucking pods for the cannibals to eat?
No, I do believe that was just the reactor like having a power failure, and some pods were affected, some weren't. I do believe that's why most of the pods were opened in the movie, is because the reactor was failing.
In that way, I actually do think it's pretty sweet where they have like the massive storage chamber for all these people and then just popping open and like feeding the cannibals. I think that's a pretty cool set piece. I don't understand how the ship's laid out though. There's so much fucking empty space and it's like so poorly constructed. Like why this like massive container of like all these living biological things? Why is it just like 90% air? Where like there's some big crane that can go up. It's like so poorly designed. There's like these massive fucking rivets, I guess, for maybe access to like the mechanical systems. It's really stupid and poorly designed, but that's like a really minor issue.
Yeah,
I'm sure with zero
really
gravity
sense.
it makes more sense. That's the only thing I can think of.
That might be fair, yeah.
I mean, maybe, but it seems like they have like artificial gravity on the ship, so like...
Yeah, you can also do that, I would imagine, at this point in time.
I thought it was, I kind of just found it funny how much the aliens liked tripwires. Like, they use tripwires a lot
Yeah, they're setting up a lot of really basic traps.
Yeah. And also, I just kind of enjoyed seeing a pre-Walking Dead Norman Reedus, who, he's some unknown actor at this point, I guess, so they just put him in to get caught and killed immediately.
I prefer to think of it as pre-Death Stranding Norman Reedus, personally, but you go off, man.
I'm assuming that's like the first guy they found. He thought he was dead, but he wasn't. Is that guy?
It's the first guy he met who was like, he was strung up in a trap and he cut him loose and then they ran and then he got caught.
What was up with that guy though? Why was he such a fucking asshole? Like he just saved his life and he's like, fuck you, I'm dipping. And then also,
I'm gonna rub this grease on me and run away.
Yeah, what I don't like about that too is that it was a really bad callback for that, because that guy died even though he greased himself up and was like being smarter about escaping, and then they go and use that motif of the guy hiding, like trying to conceal his scent later on in the movie. except it's successful that time. I don't really. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought this was a neat little sci-fi film.
You would think that, Tanner, you piece of shit.
Just with my general experience of, like, environments like this, environment wasn't the word I was going to use, but just movies and games that involve this kind of stuff in general, I think this movie did a very good job at it. I was very uneasy the whole time I was watching the movie.
I was queasy, personally.
That's part of the issue.
And with that said, Dylan, what are you going to be ranking this movie?
S-. I thought the movie did a good job at what it did.
Jesus fucking Christ.
I
think that's a bit excessive.
I'm not. Nico, you and I did think that Dylan was gonna rate this movie very highly.
It did a good job at what it was trying to accomplish. I don't think this movie needs character development, especially given the fact that they were given less than an hour to try to fix the reactor. Character development doesn't happen in less than an hour.
Fuck character development. All my homies hate character development.
It's assumed that character development in movies happens over the course of in-movie weeks or days, whichever.
That's not true.
Not at all. People can change very quickly. Anyways, I'm going to go on the different end of the spectrum here. I don't think it was like a terrible movie in any way. I definitely think it had a lot of cool ideas. I think it was... I like the set pieces for everything pretty well. I think the twists were pretty well done. I'm giving it a C- myself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely right there with you, Jackson. I'm thinking... I'm looking at C. I kind of want to put it there, but at the same time... I'll give it a C.
Tanner?
I will be giving it an A-.
Let's go.
Boy. To be fair, from what I've heard, this film is kind of a cult classic among sci-fi fans.
I was talking to Nico about that. I was looking up stuff about this movie, and basically every video I watched, people were like, I love this movie. This movie is so underrated. It's such a hidden gem from this generation. One of my favorite sci-fi movies from this era. And I was just sitting there like, what? Was it that great? It was just like everything else in this era was dog shit? And I'm like, anyways.
2009, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie fucking bombed, by the way. It was apparently supposed to be a trilogy, and just people didn't fucking care about it, so that didn't happen.
What would they have even done after that one?
I guess life on the planet?
Yeah, life on the planet, trying to rebuild society. But the mutants come back, Tanner. They come back.
How does that make sense? They drowned.
Impossible to say. I don't know what happens in the rest of them since they never happened.
They adapted very quickly to drowning.
Apparently, their hidden ability was adapt as quickly as possible.